All right, everyone, I'm going to open this up. My name is Amy Wolf. I'm the programming coordinator for the Osterville Village Library. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And to our friends joining us on Zoom, thank you so much for being with us as well. I'm going to read Nicole's bio here, and it is impressive. Nicole Gabai is a certified virtual organizing professional with over 2 decades of hands-on organizing experience. Using her art and design background, she helps people bridge the gap between beautiful and functional to maximize organizing capacity. Growing up in a very disorganized home, she knows firsthand the challenges, frustrations, and impact these have on our lives. At the age of 7, she began creating organized spaces while attending a Montessori school in Paris, France. Later in life, organizing became her passion. Working in the fast-paced world of TV production, she used her skills to create organizational systems. Later, when she became an actress and a model, she quickly realized that creating sustainable organizing systems was the key to success. Being able to understand how freeing it is when your surroundings are organized, she has dedicated her life's work to creatively helping people gain the skills they need to have a well-organized workplace and home. She is among fewer than 100 people worldwide to become a certified virtual organizing professional. She founded Be Organized in 1999 and is a Golden Circle member of NAPO, National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals.
That's not quick, yeah.
As well as a past historian of the South Florida chapter. She is the author of the bestseller, The Art of Organizing, an artful guide to an organized life. This artful, engaging, and informative book reflects her extensive knowledge and gives readers valuable tips and techniques to bring a sense of order and balance into their lives. Her unique approach sets her apart from other organizing professionals, and her method was dubbed ingenious by the kitchen. Prior to founding Be Organized, Nicole served in various jobs in TV production at renowned networks like MTV, Nickelodeon, the Orlando Film Commission, and MacGuffin Films in New York City. She received a BFA in textile design from the Fashion Institute of Technology, attended Parsons School of Design, and worked as a textile designer in New York City for several years. Nicole has been featured in prestigious media outlets such as Today.com, Martha Stewart, Southern Living, AARP, Real Simple, US News and World Report, Forbes, Boston 25 News, and more. We are honored to have Nicole Gabai with us here today. So without further ado.
Thank you all for being here. I'm so excited. Can everyone hear me okay? Mic is working. Oh, good. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm so happy to meet you and see you all. I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks and techniques to getting organized and staying organized. So I have 23 years experience working as a professional organizer. So I have, between trial and error, come up with some favorites, some things that I can't live without, and I will share some of those with you today. But I also want to get to know you. So as I go, there'll be a little interactiveness because I would love to know what your organizing challenges are. It's my favorite subject. All right, so how many people feel concerned that they have too much stuff in general? Yeah, very common. And how many of you feel like your life would be more peaceful and more efficient if you were more organized? Yes, definitely. Yeah. All right, so I'll give you a little bit about my background and then I'll continue to ask for some of your challenges and some of the things that you're dealing with as far as order, because it affects so many different parts of our home and our life. My background, as Amy was saying, I was born in Peru and lived there until I was 6, and I have a lot of family there still and family in France. I lived in Paris for a year, and this is my cousin Elise. She's visiting for the week from Paris. So very excited to have her with me today. And as Amy was saying, I lived in Miami for grade school, then I went to New York and studied fashion and textile design, which I love. I'm an artist as my first passion. But then I quickly took a TV production class, really is how it started, and that was it. Really wanted to work in TV production, so I ended up working for 10 years at the companies Amy was saying, Nickelodeon, MTV. And as an artist, my thinking wasn't always that organized. But it didn't seem necessary until I started working. And then it was like, you better learn this stuff and it's sink or swim. So I actually in TV production learned so many valuable skills that I still use today. So that's what I really want to share with people is learn from me, like the things that were tried and true. And then after working in TV production, I became a model and an actress in New York. So I was older than my peers by about 10 years. But that's okay. I worked in commercial print and I did commercials and some TV shows, etc., some films, student films. And I needed a day job. So while I was working in production, I quit that job. But as actors in New York always have as a day job, most of them you'd say, oh, what restaurant do you work at? So I didn't want to do the restaurant thing. And I realized this is 1999. I said, well, I learned some skills there in production. And I had heard about a professional organizer. She's like the, bedrock of the organizing community. Her name is Julie Morgenstern. She was coming to speak in New York, and I went to hear her speak about this very subject. She had just put out her first book. And I loved her story, but more importantly, the room was packed and standing room only. And I was like, wow, people are really interested in this. So I, put up my shingle and started, word of mouth and getting clients. And my specialty was tiny spaces because so many people's apartments in New York are just super tight, funky little spaces, a closet behind something, those little kind of things. So that worked out great for many years. I loved it. And about 20 years ago, I moved to Falmouth and kind of rebuilt the business in a little different fashion because people's needs here are, there's attics and there's basements and there's 40 years of history in people's homes and multiple generations and things like that. So I have expanded what I do, not just homes and offices, but also helping people move. And I've done senior moves and worked with families to help that process along. So, okay, here's the part where I want to learn a little more about you. Does anyone know the difference between decluttering and being organized? Do you find there's a difference between the two?
Yeah.
Yes?
Getting rid of stuff and then organizing stuff.
Yes, so I feel that there is a difference.
Yeah.
Decluttering is one thing, and then what do you do with the rest of it? And that's where I can help you. I can help you in both, but that's my expertise. I feel like we all know the very famous organizing author who's been around now for probably 10 years, and she's been fabulous at helping us declutter. She really helped us, bring joy. If it brought joy, you keep it. If it doesn't bring joy, you toss it.
Yeah.
But what do we do after that? And my feeling is there is an American way because we are a consumer society. We love to get stuff and we love new stuff and we love the better stuff. So it's a constant thing, it's always evolving even in our own space. So that's where I come in to help with some organizing systems that I've used for many years. Now I know some people do get frustrated because they say, oh, well, my space is so tidy. It must be fine, but yet it's not organized. Have you thought about that kind of difference? I've had people say that to me. I really thought my pantry was tidy, but I still couldn't find the rice and not sure how long those, the relish jar has been there because I can't see it. It's all the way in the back. So these is very common, all right, so I want to hear from you. So tell me if anyone can tell me, what are some of the problem areas in your home? Are you dealing with paper? Are you dealing with clothing, back to school?
Paper, paper.
Go ahead, paper.
With clothing, say holiday stuff.
Yes.
In the end room that used to be my daughter's.
Yep.
Keep putting things in,
Ah, okay.
and I want to get it. And books,
Yes.
and believe it or not, tapes.
Oh, yes. Cassettes,
Tapes,
cassette tapes or video tape,
all of it.
all the tape, yeah.
And books.
So there are companies, yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'll start with one of the.
For me. it's
Yes.
like, where to get rid of, all these cakes.
I know, it's sentimental, but there are companies out there that will, transfer all of the data that you have in your tape
Right,
and make it into digital. They'll give it to you on a thumb drive, they'll give it to you probably not even on a DVD anymore, they just give you a thumb drive. So that is a really great solution that I tell people
but
to
I'm not so savvy on.
technology.
Yeah.
Okay, well, talk to me after, because
Okay.
there's other ideas too. And then as far as the room that became sort of the storage area, one thing that I do always, like a rule of thumb for me, if you see stuff piling up anywhere, whether it's clothing, shoes, gifts, seasonal, it's a great indicator that you need shelving.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And shelving is so easy nowadays. You can get plastic shelving that's like heavy duty strength at Home Depot. And they're like $30-40 and super helpful. They have wider ones, deeper ones. And that's the first step for getting organized is shelving. So yes, sometimes we do have to invest in a few tools to really figure out what our need is. So if you want to get drawers to put on the shelf, that's one thing to consider, right? Then you think about, do I want it in a box? What about a clear box so you can see it? Or maybe you want a cloth softer side box, but you put a big label on it. So the key is to be able to store for retrieval. That makes sense? Yeah. So a lot of people are like, well, if I can't see it, it's fine, it's there.
Yeah.
But then you get into trouble when you need it, right?
Yeah. Then you buy another one.
Of course, then you buy double, triple, exactly. And then you find the first one and then you can't, it's like, if you can see it and access it. Because you may store it up high so you can see it, but you don't need it all the time. So I'll get into that a little further as well. How many people feel like they're shuffling piles? Like you move the pile from here to there, and then it's the other end of the kitchen, and then you put it in the hallway, and maybe it goes into the desk. So, yeah,
Mail.
mail. So the key thing with that is I like to say you want to avoid what's called horizontal filing. That means stacking things. Even though people will say, well, I know it's in the stack. I know it's there somewhere.
Yeah.
That's so difficult to navigate and manage. So whatever you have horizontally collected, first get it vertical. So that can be getting a smaller box, getting any kind of container that allows you to see it vertically. Then you can flip through it before you start the organizing system, right? And mail is one of those things. It can pile up. And with mail, I always say, the quicker you can open everything up and remove what's in it, you'll probably get rid of 70% of the stack. Because so much of it is still envelopes, fillers, return envelopes, things we really don't need. So that's kind of one other little reminder when things pile up. What about under the sink? How's everyone feel about under the kitchen sink, the bathroom sink? Anyone have any challenges with that?
Toiletry drawer.
Yeah.
Large drawer here on the Cape that I bought little plastic containers.
Yes. Didn't really work?
Somewhat.
Somewhat. Well, the first thing I would have said is you want to have those inserts. Those are so helpful. But before you can use your inserts, you probably need to sort through everything you've got, right? That's always the first step. Declutter, get rid of anything you wouldn't use, and then start putting it into sections. This will be the hair, everything for hair section. This will be everything for makeup, but then you may have lots of different types of makeup. Okay, this is for eyes, this is for lips. You put it into separate sections, and that's how those dividers help you.
I have to be sure to put everything back in the exact same spot.
Oh, that's where labeling is the best ever. Does anyone use a label maker? No, oh my gosh, if you learn anything today, number one would be get a label maker. That will help you so much because you label what's in there and you know where it goes. And you don't get confused. Wait, was this supposed to be for eye makeup or was that supposed to be for lipstick? I can't even remember, and then your system falls apart. So remember, we always, every little thing we want to store for retrieval. So that the next time you go to reach for that thing, right, you know how to find it. All right, so this is good. It helps me really get to know what you guys are dealing with and what organizing challenges. So I would love for each of you to turn to somebody next to you, even if you don't know each other, and tell each other what is the most challenging area that you are dealing with right now that you can think of. I know there might be many, but let's address one and share it with your neighbor. And you know, either discuss further, not, it doesn't have to just be, oh, under the sink. A little more in depth would be helpful. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to kind of think about that and why you came today. You know, like what motivated you to come and learn more about organizing? All right, so I'll let you go to it. Oh, you want to share? Storage and retrieval. Yes. So yeah, always the first step, and actually stand a little further back so I can, for those watching at home. So the very first step would be declutter. Just the most obvious things. Is it the bedroom, bathroom, are you kind of thinking all over?
Dining table, which yeah.
Yes, it always doubles as a desk. It doubles as we're with the mail, does your mail go over there too?
Mail.
Yes. Pay stubs from your work?
No, it's doing
Receipts. Receipts. Yeah. Yes.
Income tax for the last 20 years.
Yes. That is such a good point. I'm going to bring that up because in my 6-step process, as we divide these into sections, we have a text section, and then we divide that into zones. So think about this, process, see if this makes sense for you. So one is the thing this is to you. So maybe you need the tax documents for the last 4 years, but the last 15 of that, you can put it as what I call zone 2. It's at your home space, a little less accessible, maybe the last 10 prior to that, it's really, it's 7. Yes, I mean, the rule of thumb is 7 years plus current year, but I always tell people, check with your attorney, check with your accountant, just to make sure for your personal situation, everyone's different. But then you move things into zones according to what you need. So zone 2 is things you don't need as often. Zone 3, you put it in the back of a closet, maybe at the top of the closet, and then that's it. So now, if you needed to have things that are more historical, you want that on your premises, and that's like a zone 3. Could be a zone 4, then that's it. You go to 1 to 4, the maximum. That helps you prioritize where you want to store things. So the things closest to you is zone 1. And then so you can pick up everything you see there and say, do I really need this every day? And that's zone 1. Does that sound like it can help? Yes.
Yeah, just changing size.
Yeah.
I do grow, but there's not a, I like that one, you know, dump it at the dump.
You can take it to, and I'm dealing in Osterville. Oh, okay, not in Falmouth. There is the service center, they accept clothing all the time. Yeah, anything. They resell, they have a store. That's right, and it's called Hand in Hand. They're great, they take everything. Exactly, you want to go to a good cause or to use. Exactly.
And that's the problem with everything.
I know, but your home can't be the dumpster either. You're right. Right, that's what happens, I get it, I know we want to be environmental, we want to be eco-conscious, exactly. But there is a point at which it impedes on your, and it's, it impedes on your personal life, but it's self with here.
Right.
Okay, ladies, I want to hear from you. Did everyone find some interesting information and yes, who would like to share with the group what you discussed? I would love to hear from you.
Want me to start?
Yes, please.
Photos on my camera.
Oh,
On
that's
my-
the digital
on my-
world.
On my phone, so.
That's a big challenge. Did you find a solution with the person you shared with?
It's not completely, no,
Yeah.
I would love some pointers, but.
Yes, that is challenging. I mean, for sure, the first thing is the cloud, have everything backed up.
Yeah,
And secondly, an external hard drive. Do
Yeah.
you have that?
I do, but I gotta go to Apple to use it, because I don't know how to use this.
Oh, okay. They do have some that are more user friendly because techie is not my expertise.
Okay,
I am more all about paper and stuff and
Yeah.
everything included in that. But technology, not my forte. However, we all need it, right? We live with technology in every way. I know that an external hard drive is extremely important and mine is super simple. You get like one that's 2 TB. It's just a little thin little box.
yeah, that's what I did, I bought it right at Apple.
Okay, do you, how long have you had it? Because they do upgrade them.
3 years.
Okay. So whatever method would work for you to at least back up everything and then have it on the cloud, that gets started, so it's not always on your phone. But yes, in fact, there are professional organizers who specialize just in photos. So if you want to see me after, I can give you some information on that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Albums, set things up in albums too, I do that a lot.
digital albums.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right on my phone so that I name all the things.
absolutely. And delete,
Florida.
right? You go through a lot of
I
them.
do, that's what I was telling her.
She did say that.
Yeah.
I'm very good at it. Deleting.
You are good at that? Yeah, oh, that's great. That is so important. In fact, I was just spending some time with a girlfriend of mine and her 12-year-old daughter. So you know, her 12-year-old knows way more than we do about everything techie. And the first thing she did after every fun thing we did, and we had loads of pictures, she went in to edit. Every single time. I was like, wow, that's pretty efficient. So that you don't end up with, 10 events that you then have to edit. So that's kind of, maybe a new habit to get into.
Yeah, that's a big.
Anybody else can share with me? Share with the group? Yes.
I heard in another organized group that they talked about, try to give yourself, say, 20 minutes one day, specifically, so you're not overwhelmed and
Right.
you get in there and then it's like,
Then it's too
and
much.
then maybe the next day, 20, or whatever, 15 minutes, so time frame.
Yes. Now, there's a few elements, some steps that I recommend before you get to that place of being able to get it done in 20 minutes. There has to be systems set up. That's so important. And that's what my 6-step process covers, so that you start out with decluttering is always first. That's always the given. So you sort out what's really trash, right? Then you divide things into sections. So if you have paperwork for the office, if you have invitations and things that are social oriented, things that are related that way. It depends obviously where the clutter is or what you're collecting. But if it's your closet, then it depends on, okay, put all the shoes together that you're gonna keep. Donate the rest. Put everything together that is luggage or travel related. So you divide things into sections. Then the next step is zones. I was just tell me your name again.
Anita.
Anita, thank you. I was just talking with Anita about zone system, the zone process. And basically what that means is it's a way to help you prioritize how you're gonna store things. Because we can't store everything where we can see it, right? So, and then, but you're worried about putting stuff away and then you may never find it, right? Does that happen to a lot of people? Yeah. So the key with that is zones. Zones mean zone 1 is the items you need with you closest to you at your fingertips. So those items stay with you where you can see it. That's zone 1. Zone 2, you still need it and you use it, but it doesn't have to be right there at your desk or in your kitchen, but you need it. So maybe it goes in a bookcase somewhere near you, or in the drawers of your desk, not on top of the desk with file holders. So that's zone 2. Zone 3 is stuff you need, but not frequently, maybe once a month, maybe a few times a year. So in your closet, say it's your luggage, that can go way up high in the closet where you can only access it with a stepladder. Well, that's okay, because you're not using it every day. So you start to think about what you need and how often you need it, and that determines the zone that it goes into. And so basically, I think go zone 1, 2, 3, that's it. You can have a 4th. That might be old tax records. That might be your children's memorabilia. Stuff that you want, you're keeping, but you don't need to look at it all the time. And then you put it in the correct container and put it away. So once you've established the sections and your zones, the last thing we do is containers. Did you think about that? Yes, okay. Sometimes I get to a client's house and they're like, I went to Container Store, it was fabulous. I got all this great stuff. Why can't I get organized? And because, yeah, it's the last thing you think about. What was that?
It's work.
Well, it's also buying what you need for that use. And that's where you think about, do I need it in a drawer style? Does it need to be a box that stacks? Does it need to be clear? Does it need to be pretty because it's in my living room, but it needs a label on the front? So before you go out and buy all the pretty things, because they get us with pretty, you want to know that you're buying the thing you need for those items you're storing. You know, for shoes, for example, I just did a client's closet. She had shoes everywhere. She loves shoes, but she couldn't find the pair that she liked because it was under some pile of other things. So she decided, because we thought about it, what would work for you? Do you want rack? No, I don't want to see them. Okay, do you want shelving? No, I really don't want to see them. Okay, how about a tall cabinet with 3 big drawers? The drawer pops out and you slide all your pair of shoes in there. And you have 3 or 4 big drawers. She stored, I can't even remember how many pair of shoes. I want to say 30, 40. And it looks beautiful. It's in the closet. It has a nice little tabletop. So that became like part of her dressing area. So that's the kind of thing you want to think about, like what's the most efficient way to store any particular thing. So that's the containerizing. Now, there are a couple other steps, but those are more involved because it has to do with paper. Paper, believe it or not, is the hardest thing to tackle. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's like half my book. It's about paper and creating those systems. But what I want to say is, once you've established the sections, then your zones, and you have the containers you love, I call it going back to 1. And what that concept is, this is from my TV production days. I would go to the set when I was in production or when I was an actress, and in production, I would be right there next to the director and the producers, and the director would say, okay, we're rolling. So there'd be a set up where all the actors come in. But before that set was created, so many people weighed in. The lighting director came in, the camera people came in, the sound people came in, and then the set dressers, the set decorators, and they all decided how the set should look. So, okay, everybody goes back to their areas, and then they bring in the actors. So the actors come in, and in their scene, they have to move things, they're talking, they're moving stuff around, everything's in a different spot. And then the director says, cut, okay, so there was an issue, who knows? It could be airplane sound, it could be someone messed up a line, who knows? So he says, cut. Okay, then they discuss what they have to discuss to fix it, and then they say, okay, everybody, back to 1. And that means literally everyone, the set decorators come back in and set it up exactly as they did before the scene, so they can reshoot. And then the actors know where their spots are, so they go back to 1. So I use that as a theme for getting your space back in order, but you have to have a little more of a system in place. Does that make sense? Does anyone see how that could work in your home? Does anyone want to share how that might open ideas for your space, how that could work for you? What do you think?
I'm in the process of a full house renovation.
Oh, that's a huge project right there. I've been through that many times.
Yeah, it's like they took down the chimney today.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so yeah, I can see why digital is easier for you right now.
I'm a little bit, I will go, you know, I have done a major move.
Yes.
So I've gotten better.
Yes.
Doing stuff,
Okay, good.
but at the same time, I can't wait to have everything in its spot.
Yes.
So I can start living more life than trying to find.
Exactly. Well, that I think is the key about being organized, right? So that you have more time to do the things you want to do
Right.
and have fun and not be like, oh, I have to organize this weekend. And 3 hours into it, you're like, oh my God, I can't do this. And that happens to everybody. So the time limits that you were mentioning is perfectly spot on. However, I recommend 3 hours to start any project that you're working on, and then that's it. 3 hours max, 4 maybe if you're really feeling it. But it's very detailed stuff. And it's hard to keep that focus, even as a professional. We really need a break. So even if you're doing 3 or 4 hours, to take a break every 2 hours. Walk around, different scenery, have a snack, you know, keep your water handy. And 3 hours at a time, that's it. But you know, if you did that every Saturday and you chipped away at it, eventually you have your system, right?
I think they said something too about after you do a time frame to reward yourself, so it's similar.
Definitely.
Do something.
Yes.
You have to have a plan.
You have to have a plan, you're right, and we all want positive reinforcement, so if you're working on the closet, be patient too with yourself. A client I just worked with, actually, as a virtual organizer, we did the whole process virtually, she lives in Osterville, actually. And I live in Falmouth, so the way we do virtual is, it's one-on-one in real time, and the session is 1 hour. And she shows me only what she wants to organize. And I work with her on that project. In her house, it was a huge closet filled to the brim with everything, because she rents out the house in the summer. She would shove everything in, and then she got back and she was busy, and this happened year after year. You can imagine, right? How full, yeah. So once she shows me each part of what's there, and then I get a little walkthrough of the house by means of virtual, I give her the guidance and the instruction on where we begin, how we get to the next step. We stay in touch every week. We journal. She tells me her progress. I keep track, so we stay on track and stay with the pace. So it really works. We have found that virtual is a great solution for people, especially if you don't want to dedicate 4 or 5 hours in one day. And, you know, it's also cost savings from, sometimes people think organizing professionals, it's too expensive or whatever. So it's a very successful and effective way of doing the organizing. So in her closet, oh gosh, now I lost my train of thought because her closet was so exciting. I have before and after pictures. I could talk all day about that project. Anyway, I was getting back to where we go when we're finished with the sections, and we do the time frame, and you do a reward. And be patient. That was the other thing I was saying. Her project took us literally 12 weeks. And that was 12 hours. It doesn't seem like a lot. Does it seem like a lot?
Just the closet.
Yes. Oh, no, the closet, because things we have to find where they belong. That was the part about putting things in sections. She had art supplies, she had china, she had Christmas things, her son's memorabilia. They are 30 years old and live in Seattle, you know? So she had so many things that really didn't belong there. And that's the dividing by section. And she did a little work in between, but give yourself that time frame, you know, without the pressure. Because it takes a while. Yes.
So when you say you do 1 hour, are you going, like, looking at, like, this shirt? Like, look at this shirt, should we keep this shirt, should we not keep this shirt?
It
Or-
depends on what you're focusing on. I do the fashion part with people, yes, and they'll try on outfits for me, and I'll put together outfits. And, you know, I can see the garments, because I also learned textile design and construction. I can see the construction of a garment. Is it trendy? Is it usable? Can you do a couple of little tricks to it and the seamstress and revive it? So I can see all of that. That's one part of the closet.
Yeah.
But a lot of people's closet, like in her case, she had things that just didn't belong, you know, it was second set of china, it was her Thanksgiving decor, Christmas decor, like, and it was all in that one closet.
Like a room.
It was a room, exactly, and it was this enough of a size that it's easy to just put it behind the door, it's okay, I can deal with it later. So yeah, it took a little while, and these projects do take time. So it's a good fall, winter project, it's a good rainy day, cloudy day project, yeah, definitely. All right, so I shared with you some of what I call the Gabai principles, and,
Can I ask you a quick question?
yes, of course.
Just on that example though, but say you're doing a closet.
Yes,
Cause I will be doing.
yes.
It's like, do you do like all the shirts at one time and all the pants at one time? Or do you say, try on everything and then we'll see what fits and then we'll go through it? Or do you give like projects like that in between? your
Yes,
sessions?
there are projects in between, like she definitely had her list of things to do. So there's two parts to closet, right?
Yeah.
There is the clothes that you're saying.
Yeah.
And that is a process where it's like, okay, let's look through all the pants. Do you like these pants? Do they work? What do you use them for? Oh, I like this for work. Okay, I keep that in mind. You try them on, I see them. Okay, we love those pants. Then we're gonna go to shirts. And then we're gonna say, okay, I don't like this. I don't want that. What about this? And I can see whether that's a keeper, right? And then I can help you. Oh, that shirt will go great with those two pair of pants. For dressy or for casual, and we start to eliminate and put together outfits and we take pictures. And you can be wearing the whole outfit. I help you with accessories, the whole look. So that is in that regard, that kind of step by step. However, when it comes to other stuff in the closet, we have to decide what sections they go in. That is just the first thing. But the funny thing is, with my client in Osterville, because I said, show me around your bedroom. And there's doors. I said, oh, what's in there? Oh, it's another closet. Can I see what's in there? And sure enough, she had linens for the tenant that would rent next summer. But that's kind of a zone 1. It's right there in her bedroom. And you don't need it there, right? So I said, that's a great spot. Then she walked me around and she had some cabinet doors, like two, one on top of the other. So big cabinets with a door. And one side and then the other side. I said, can I see what's in there? Oh, gosh, yeah, no, I can't use these because, the tenants come and I don't want them in my stuff. I said, well, we have a solution for that, but let me see. And we opened it, and it was wonderful shelf space. Perfect for, say, Thanksgiving china, like things you really don't need often. But it's one subject matter, you know what I mean? It's not gonna be shoes for the winter plus the dishes and the crock pot, and you know what I mean? We're gonna stay in one subject there. She said, yeah, but I don't want the tenants and this and that. So I said, okay, what you do is you put a magnet lock on the doors. And that's the kind of stuff with my experience that I used, so I can give people that kind of expertise. So we put magnet locks. They're meant for childproofing, but the tenant comes to our house, they're not gonna yank on the cabinet and try to rip it off, right? So that proved to be a great solution for that. But then there was another cabinet in her room where the hinges fell off. She's like, oh, I can't stand this one. Let's go somewhere else. I said, actually, no, wait, this is so important. The hinges is key in this room. What? Oh my gosh, such a project. I don't even know where to get the hinges. I got the wrong hinges. I said, no, we need to focus on those hinges. So even though it seemed so little and unrelated, it actually allowed for 2 new spaces of storage just to fix the hinge. So she could really eliminate so much of what was in the closet, because like you're saying, we wanted it to end up with being clothing,
Right.
not all these other random subjects. Then she had, all the decor, Christmas decor, holiday, Thanksgiving, and she did outside and inside, but you don't need it right there in your beautiful closet, so she started to have other places to put things. So that's the kind of thing we think about in that sequencing of the system. Does that
It does.
answer the question a little better for
It does.
closet?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome. All right, anybody else have questions? I'm opening this up to you guys and tell me what other issues and anything I can answer. Or share with me how you might apply any of the principles that I mentioned.
So things for like an attic are in the
Yes.
basement.
Yeah.
I have mold issues, so I will not put things, I mean, I have a dehumidifier, it's much better, but I'd be very, hesitant what to put.
Yes,
You know?
very, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big deal in
So
the cave.
for me, it'd be like, you gotta get rid of it.
Well,
Unless it's something that won't.
be
smell,
affected,
yeah,
everything will
even-
be,
yeah,
everything will
even
be
Christmas
affected,
stuff, you know?
everything.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it's not horrible, but,
Yeah, so it depends what,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I've dealt
So I
with
went
mold
through that,
issues.
that's why I kept
Yeah,
things in that envelope, and like,
that's right. So there's a lot of different parts. I was just discussing this with someone yesterday. There are so many parts to dealing with the mold issues and especially on the Cape because it's so prevalent. We need extra space and we go to the garage or we go to the attic. The important thing is depending on your comfort level too, but it's also your health. You can hire people that will come in and take a air sample and they take it to a lab and they will tell you how many mold spores there are.
yeah.
Is it within a healthy range or not? Then you can go to remediation companies, and I recommend if you try that, just have them come in and do an estimate. They'll tell you, oh, they have meters, they touch the wall. And they can say, yeah, they can tell you how much mold is in your space and if it needs to be remediated. And they can tell you how they would do it. So then you decide whether or not you're gonna hire that, to do the whole project, but at least you'd have an idea what you're dealing with.
I had that,
Yeah. But did you do the remediation?
yeah, and so I got, dehumidifiers helped a lot, there was a certain kind of spray
Mm-hmm.
that I used.
Yeah.
It's good, but as far as putting things over the attic, it depends what it is, or in the garage, it depends.
Very
I
difficult to.
would not use clothes.
No, you can put skis maybe, you can put,
Yeah, things that are, you use outside.
maybe, yeah,
You
yes.
know what, one thing I've done is, we have a nice basement space and we're in the wetlands, so it's, you have.
Very good, yeah,
You have to be careful and, but we've got these wire rack systems and we also can do 3 tubs across on these racks. I mean, it was investment, but we did that and all the tubs are sealable.
yes,
So I feel like the things are safe, so I like that system,
that is a great idea, because they do have airtight containers,
and they're clear, so.
that's the key, make sure you know what's in it.
The plastic, the wrap. Yes, there was, like, I had to go through with them to make sure I wanted 3 across and I wanted so many racks high. Wanted to totally maximize my space. And then-
Yes, that's a
and
great
the
point.
racks are really sturdy, like all the contractors are like, this is great, and then it just kind of limits me as to what I can have.
That's a great solution, exactly. So maximizing the height is exactly one of the key organizer tools that we use. Anytime you have a nice big empty wall, you want shelving. That's always the key. And they do have these stainless steel, heavy duty shelving. You can buy them for like $60 on Amazon. And one thing I'd recommend is get the wheels on it.
Yeah.
That
We
is a
didn't put
bonus.
wheels, but, because we didn't want to give up that space, but at the same time, that's a good idea.
Just because things happen, life changes and you wanna move stuff around, whatever, it's a nice bonus, but not
It is.
necessary.
It is good.
Yeah.
but, maybe we should have done that. I think ours were about 120 each, so they are.
You might have the deeper ones, wider,
Wider.
yeah.
But. And then the tubs, how much?
The tubs compared to a regular sealer type.
Yeah.
container.
There
I
are
wanted
certain
to
brands that are more sealable, that are
Oh,
weather,
no.
I like the ones that come over and kind of.
Oh,
yeah.
Where do you get them?
They have them at Walmart, I've seen them there, yeah.
Okay.
But you need to, a lot of times quality matters with these
Yeah.
weatherproofing. So you wanna check to make sure you can even look up the brand
Oh.
or the model number and find out what is the most weatherproof, brands. You can even Google that, right? You can just say
Yeah.
weatherproof, storage boxes, yeah. That's awesome. Anybody else want to share how they could implement some of these principles and add them to your daily life. No more shares? Well, I thank you all for coming. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful to see you all and meet you. And if you want to buy a book, they are for sale. And my cousin Elise will be happy to help. And I'm signing books today, so if you buy one today, I will personalize it for you or a gift.
Can I ask you what is in the book?
Yes, absolutely. All right, I'm gonna try and do this one-handed. Oops. So I also am an artist, as I mentioned, I went to art school, I illustrated the whole book and I did all the artwork. And for me, even when I'm working with any client, I think cinematically, I think in images. So many clients, I would go to their homes and I would say, oh, well, one thing you need here is a magazine box. And they would say, well, I don't know what you mean. What is that? Oh, I say, hold on, let me draw it for you. So I would draw them that example. And then they say, oh, yeah, I know what that is. I see those all the time at Staples or whatever. So I put all of my designs and recommendations. I tried to get as many as I could into the illustrations. And I did all the illustrations, as I was saying, and here's that dining table that might look familiar to many people. So basically, this book covers my 6-step process, the Gabai principles. And it tells you exactly step by step, and each chapter covers what that principle means and how you apply it. And then it has a bunch of questions behind every chapter, you know, and then I have a lot of helpful tips and pro tips and ways to get you started, lists of things you might need, supplies, how to keep things, what do you store in certain areas, and some of the best containers that I found for that kind of storage. So like in the pantry, if you have room for a little rolling box that has 5 drawers that are plastic and you can roll it around, well, maybe you put your tools, your light bulbs, you might put other things that they don't need to be right front and center, right, in your kitchen. And maybe they can be in the garage. So, you know, I give suggestions and product names. I even promote certain products that I love. So I do talk about that as well.
What are the 6
Steps?
steps?
Okay, so,
By name.
yes, so,
Elaborate.
no, that's true. I appreciate that. So I have them right here so you can follow along. So I did this as a, color wheel. And the reason it's 6-step process, it is the primary colors and secondary colors. That's just a way to remember it. But basically, primary colors, right? The red, yellow, blue. So it's sectional organizing first. Then we break it down into the zones. And then we start with storage solutions. That's the containerizing part. The second phase of going through organizing your space is info management. Like we were talking about pictures, digital, but so many people still use paper. Do you guys have files? Who has files and papers here? Pretty much everybody. As much as we all say we're all digital, we still have the deed to the house and the paperwork for the car title and, you know, the insurance policy. We still have paper. So info management, I go into that in the book, ways to create your systems. And then I go right into portability. That's the other primary color. So it's orange, green, and purple. Portability is how to take stuff on the road with you. Not just the information we have in our phone, but in the book, I do cover. I won't get into it too much now because it's a whole nother subject, but this is, through my years of production, this was a way to stay organized. I still use it. I've been doing this for 25 years. This book is amazing because I call it the halfway book. And the key thing with this book, let me just show you. I can get to, oops. I'm going to show you. Here we go. Every section has a label on it. So this is a place to collect, as you can see, little papers. I always say to people, let me see what's on your desk. And always people have little sticky Post-it notes all over the computer, or they have little notes they may go when they went out and met somebody, and then you have some cards, whatever. So this is what I call the halfway book, and you come up with your categories. That's another thing I help people with when we do one-on-one work. But the key with this is it's a storage place where you can store information for retrieval. But the key is it's for your little notes and papers, and it's retrievable by category, not chronology. So a lot of times I hear, oh, well, I have a spiral notebook. I put everything in there. Well, what happens is, then you're flipping through it, you're like, I know I wrote it in red pen, it was on the top, on the right hand side, okay, I'm gonna find it, I know, yeah. So this is a way to discover, find all that info categorically. So it pertains to your house, maybe it's your health, maybe it's your pet, you know, it's maybe your children, your grandchildren, so you come up with those categories. And then the key is, I date them, and this one usually lasts me about 6 months. Everybody's different. Some people need a notebook with 3 rings because they have so much. Some people, this would be fine. The key with this is you save it for 5 years. So that you have kind of a archive catalog of where you were in your life. In one section or 2 sections, you might put house renovation. And you might have been referred to, say, 3 painters, but you went with 1, but you liked the second one. Maybe in 2 years from now, you're gonna say, you know what, I like that second one, I wanna call that person now. So then you go back to that section and you remember the years in which you did your, in which you did all of your construction work, then you'd know what book it's in. Occasionally, I tuck things in here just so that I can file it later, but that's okay. You know, it's part of the process.
Do they have pockets or is it?
They don't, that's why this little paper is flying out. They don't have pockets, but it does have sections, and that's the key, is the sections.
So do
So
you have the same sections every
No.
6 months or?
No, they
as
change.
your life
they
goes?
change, exactly. There might be travel, I might be planning something. I might be teaching some classes, and then I need another section for that. So it just depends on what's happening. So anyway, that's part of information management. I go over it in detail in the book. And the last one, which we've talked about, was just back to 1. So that's where you can spend 20 minutes every day, at the end of the day, and getting the house back to 1. And it helps to have that system.
As far as clothes,
Yes.
my daughter always said, well, if you haven't worn it in
A year.
a year or, you know, a year and a half, or something,
Yes.
get rid of it, right?
You know, that's a tricky thing. And in general, yes, I think the 1-year rule is a great rule.
Or two.
But I love fashion, so I tend to collect pieces, you know, and so I might have this shirt for 4 years.
And things come back.
Well, yes, but things come back cyclical, and in fashion, it's usually 10 to 20 years. And usually when they come back, they're slightly different. Like the jacket now has a puffy sleeve, not the, you know, pads in the sleeves or in the shoulder. So, you know, it changes slightly.
Because I won't have her come over and try to help me declutter.
How old is she?
She's 45.
Oh, okay.
So the thing is, she'll get into things and say, okay, you don't need this, and then I'll put it back.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
that's why I don't want to.
Yeah, I know.
Something that I'm not ready to do.
Right, and that's the thing, even as a professional, I would never come into your space and say, you don't need this, you don't need that.
But, you know, she
'Cause-
would know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but then you get sentimental. You know?
Well, and that's true, and we do that with kind of like everything,
Yeah.
but it's a matter of quantity. Like, how much space does your closet hold? Then there's the out of season stuff, you know, it's all connected. And how do you store the out of season, et cetera. So you really,
What about all the classics? And she just mentioned it, it's true.
it's
Like,
true,
I tend to buy classics.
yes,
So it's like,
Things you might have forever, this
there's plenty, yeah,
sweater or something.
of course. And you have your staples, you know, a black pair of pants or whatever. So it's always a matter of quantity. Like how many black wool pants?
Do you organize the clothing by tops all in shades of color, you know, pinks, greens, blues, and pants?
It depends also again on preference, personal preference. I like to do it by style and usage. So all the long sleeves are together with long sleeves. All the short sleeves are with short sleeves. The tank tops are with tank tops.
Yeah.
That way I can easily see what's what. And some people go a little further if they're working full-time and they'll choose professional clothes and casual clothes. But
Solids and prints, I also.
you could do solids and prints also, exactly, depends on how detailed you wanna get.
Yeah, well, just it helps.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you all for sharing all these wonderful ideas.
Three in and three out roller, you know, you
Yes,
get a
that's
new
a good one
whatever. and-
too.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I
I just have to
100%.
follow it.
That's a great rule. I call it,
Exactly.
it's about flow, and it's the in and out rule. So you bring three things in, three things have to go out. And it could be anything. You bought 3 new garments, you could get rid of a purse and 2 pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Or you could get rid of really damaged pot in the kitchen and a couple of hand towels, you know what I mean? But 3 in, 3 out. And the other part of that is having shopping bag in your closet. I have an empty one at all times. So I try something on, I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Then it goes in black. And that's it. Don't hang it up again.
But then what? Then what do you
You
do?
donate it.
You have, but you have to carry everything. I don't have the
It's
physical,
just a shopping bag or
but I'm talking about hundreds of them.
No, and they do a little
But
at a
just do
time.
the time you're trying it on.
Oh, yes, as you go, if you, well, maybe you end up with 10 shopping bags, that's okay. You can grab 2 at a time, maybe, 1 at a time. Get some help to load the car.
Help.
Yeah.
Transfer station has Goodwill and different bins.
Oh,
But they
where's that?
overflow. They're not
Barnstable.
taking
Oh, the
it.
Barnstable,
Yeah.
yeah. And Falmouth has, hand in hand is the retail shop, but they have the service center collection behind there. They are fabulous. They take a lot. They take almost everything. Another place is Salvation Army. They take everything.
Yeah. Goodwill's